I'd like to welcome you to this week's report. Today is Thursday, July 17th. Been another great week of fishing here in Southern California. The bad news is that the weather is going to be a little bit windy this weekend. It already is today. Coastal looks okay in the morning, breezy in the afternoon. I'll tell you more about that later. Islands and, Channel Islands, Clemente, the offshore tuna grounds can be breezy. Not too breezy for a sport boat, not too breezy for a bigger yacht or a Freeman or something like that, but definitely pretty breezy for a skiff. Definitely check the weather before you head out, and it has not been over forecast, so just understand if it says it's going to be blowing 12 knots, it's going to be blowing 12 knots. Before I get to this week's report, I just realized that I forgot the CCA Star tournament fish of the week, so have to bring that back next week. But if you guys are not participating, now's the time to do it. You still got over a month, and all you need to do is catch one fish that qualifies, and you can win a Parker 18-foot Parker boat. It's only $40 to get in. Go to the CCA California website and sign up. I've only got one contribution so far. Had a few more fish that would have qualified, but I don't think to put them on the board. So hopefully I catch a few more before the tournament ends and win the boat or one of the other great prizes. I also want to give you guys an update on the situation with Tom and Cash Troop. I'm going to do that at the end of the video. If you guys aren't familiar, they had their boat, the hull separated, Luna boat split apart. Talked about in previous reports. One of the viewers here actually donating to them a 19-foot Mako hull. It's from 1 year younger than me, from 1972, but it's in good shape and treated well, and they're going to have to switch their motor, all their electronics and everything else over to that, and we're going to try and raise some funds to help them do that. So if you're interested, listen until the end. Some of the Channel Islands, the halibut are really biting up there. I don't think I've ever heard of halibut counts like this before, but the Mirage out of Ventura, I assume they're fishing Rosa, maybe Miguel, I don't know. They had, on 3 different days, they had 53 halibut, they had 84 halibut, and 97 halibut on separate trips, and that's ridiculous. I mean, wide open halibut, I guess. They're getting sea bass up there as well, and the boats fishing Santa Cruz and Rosa, other than them, are also catching sea bass and halibut. The Aloha Spirit and the Gray Light have both been on them all week. I don't know if they have the openings coming up, but any of the boats out there, you got to get shot. Seems like if you want to catch halibut, you go on an overnight trip. And, they're catching a bunch of halibut on the full day trips too, so good fishing up there. It is going to be breezy though, so be aware of that. The coastal stuff is still biting as well. Over the weekend, probably 3 of the top bass anglers in the 805 there went out, fished. Larry Heron, Scott Summersgill, and Brian Davis. You put those 3 guys on the boat together, the bass could be in trouble. But they had fantastic calico bass fishing on, Widlet or A-rigs and also Big Hammer swim baits. They're all sponsored by Big Hammer, so that's what they're going to be throwing. Looks like just fantastic fishing for those guys. Glad to see them get out there and catch them. Again, another week with not much reporting out of Nick or SBI. I'd assume there's squid at SBI because when I was out yesterday going fishing, I saw several seiners heading in that general direction while I was going out. So there's probably yellows and sea bass and halibut right there as well. Probably going to be pretty breezy there. Nick is definitely going to be breezy. Probably out of the question this weekend. Down to Clemente, still biting. Thunderbird is catching fish on the squid grounds. That's a nighttime, very early morning thing. Mostly yellows. Really good grade of them. They're also getting some sea bass and halibut. It's going to be breezy back there this weekend. And it's not super windy at Clemente. It's just going to be windy for 3 days, and it seems like the least wind is like 6 to 9 knots, and it gets up to 15 knots later in the day. But you get 3 steady days, and it's going to be uncomfortable, especially on the backside. We also have a really big south swell, so that's going to factor into the thing. Daytime, I haven't heard much. Not a lot of the bass guys running over there lately, but talked to Mitch on the Blackfish out of Newport. He's a 6-pack charter boat. If you guys are looking for a real fishy dude to fish with, you can't go wrong with Mitch or his crew on the Blackfish. But they are fishing the west end front side of Clemente, catching yellows and calico bass and stuff like that. And when they pulled off the island, they had a bluefin tuna pop up right in front of them, real close to the island. They got one nice fish off it. I think that's all they wanted. And this time of year, those bluefin will pop up really close to the island. I've been fishing bass on the front side and looked out 100 yards and saw a bluefin jump out of the water. So if you're going over there to fish yellows or bass, definitely have something you can throw a topwater lure on. I'd suggest having it on a 2-speed reel and a heavy rod. The Penn Fathom 25 narrow 2-speed is kind of my go-to setup for 100-pound plus fish. Filled it up with an 80-pound braid. Use a 100-pound leader, short. 3 or 4 feet, just so you, 3 feet probably, so you don't get it through the guides when you're casting. You could throw a big AFCO Blue Fever hardbait. You could throw a Rapala subwalk if you upgrade to hooks. Poppers, whatever. If those fish are up foaming, you can throw whatever you got in there, they're going to bite it. The reason we fish these bigger lures for them is because our intention is to jam their mouth open with that lure. And if you do that, they fight a lot less. So they're not used to swimming around like this. So you get a bigger lure, and their mouth is propped open with it, you're going to get that fish really quick. If you use a small lure like a cold sniper or even hooking on bait, you're going to get your butt kicked for quite a while. And that's one of the reasons the fish caught on flying fish a lot of times fight a lot harder than the fish caught on surface lures, is because they can close their mouth because they just have that hook in their mouth, and that's when they get strong. So something to keep in mind. Pack it along. If you got some stabilized binoculars, definitely have them on the boat. If I'm running across in the morning, I'm keeping my eye out for rafts of shearwaters. I'm looking for terns flying around, the smaller terns. Birds looking at the water. You probably won't see anything in the morning, but make a note of where you saw that stuff. Go heading out, because there might be bluefin there in the afternoon. And if you're seeing the shearwaters rafted up, they're those things that look like pigeons. I'll always go out of my way to drive right through them, and they'll take off before you get to them. You don't run them over. But if they're on fish, they will circle around and fly right back to where they were sitting before. If they're not on fish, just resting, they'll fly off somewhere else and sit down. Can't tell you how many times I've found shearwaters in the morning, driven over them, had them fly right back to where they were, and then go back through that area 2 or 3 hours later on the morning slack, late morning slack tide or early afternoon slack tide, and there'll be bluefin foamers there. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, so Catalina, I fished her yesterday. Matt and I launched at noon with the intention to go fish Palos Verdes, or 12:30 or so. And we ran from Furman to the golf course. It was uphill current, dirty water. It just really looks like it's not going to bite. Palos Verdes especially, if you have uphill current after 10 a.m., you're going to have tough fishing. So we made the call. The weather was nice. We ran to the west end of Cat. But we didn't just go straight there. The weather was so nice that I took a look at the north side of Cat, or the west side of Cat area where we often see bluefin, and I ran all the way out to the 500 fathom curve on the backside to take a look. Saw dolphins, there's bait out there, but the tuna are not in that zone. So yeah, anyway. Bass fishing was tough for us. There weren't fish associated with the boilers as much as there were in the kelp associated with that shoreline. Problem was they were keeping on small bait, and we'd get 5 or 6 bites to every fish we hooked. So, although, tough day, we still caught fish, but it wasn't the flamethrower. But the nice thing was there was never any wind. We ran both directions with no spray. And anytime I could do that, I'm a very happy man. Jerry Mayu fished Catalina the other day, and had a client hook a fish on a crankbait, I think it was, or a small hard bait, like a 2-pounder. And a lot of times followers will come in and get on the other hook of that hard bait, but this one was a 9-pound calico that actually got the other bass into its mouth by the head when it tried to eat the bait. So it ate the bait and ate half the other bass, and then got hooked that way. So I got a little bit of that here.
All right, Jerry, you good? gill rakers stuck right here. Grab those pliers for me, folks. We don't want this big fucker to die.
No.
Let's put him in the water for a second.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's good fishing on the front side, but you're gonna need bait. You got a chum. You know, either anchor up or use your spot lock on your trolling motor. Benny Florentino was there on I think it was a client's boat. I don't think it was his. Earlier this week, they had a couple yellows, wide open bass fishing. So that's good to see. But again, chum I think is the key on the front side. You gotta get those fish active. You can even use a chum bucket. You don't necessarily need anchovies. But if you got bait on the boat, get a chum bucket, poke some holes at the top and have it behind your boat. And that'll get that whole food chain going. And if you get a chum bucket, a piece of advice that a lot of people miss out on is they're usually 2.5 gallon. You want to have a 5-gallon bucket ready, so when you pull that chum bucket out of the water, you set in that 5-gallon bucket, or you're going to have chum bleeding all over your deck and stinking everything up and making a mess. So locally, I fished today, again, very different weather. We launched at noon, decided to go fish the sandbass. Spawning area down there, and it was already capping. It was rough the whole time. We got very wet both directions. Got that new trolling motor that Garrett Ching gave me. Put that to good use. I had it installed by the Seal Beach Boat Works last week, and they did a fantastic job. It performed flawlessly. If you guys need any kind of work done on your boat, motor issues, having something installed, having something replaced, go see Ricky and the boys over at Seal Beach Boat Works. They did a great job. But anyway, it wasn't, we had to drive around to find the sandbass, and so unlike when they're on a rock or a reef or a pipe or anywhere else like that, these sandbass are not related to structures, so you have to drive around and find them. And what I noticed today was there were a lot of birds up. There was 3 or 4 sport boats out there, probably 10 skiffs, spread out over maybe a half mile or so. There were spots where the birds would come down and they were coming down on feeding sandbass, but there were tons and tons of really small schools of sandbass. So you really had to drive around to find volume. As I talked about last time I did that, side imaging helps a lot. And I had some questions about what side imaging looks like on the what you're looking at, and I took some video. I apologize, my screen is filthy from all the spray that I got on the way out, and I think you can kind of see it here. So it's kind of hard to see here on the screen, but this right here is bass on the side imaging. They were under the boat, they slid up to the side. This white stuff here you see is just prop wash from my trolling motor. But right in there are the sand bass. That's what they look like on the side imaging. Yeah, like I said, so the trick with the sand bass, the spawning ones, are to drive around and look for bigger schools that are marking. And a lot of times you won't run them over. You'll see them on your side imaging off to the side of the boat. You do not need to get on top of those fish. Actually, when you get on top of them, they tend to leave. So we'd find them off to the side of the boat. We'd spot lock and we'd throw crankbaits. We're fishing the Berkeley Dredger 17.5. There's just flat wide open. I think we had 40 to 50 fish in less than 2 hours. And I've got some video that shows just how good it can be when you find some fish that are schooled up like that. And I apologize for the wind noise. It was windy. You got bit at the boat?
I got a bit more on the end of the boat.
Whoa! Whoa!
The twister right there. Look at that. Look at that. Oh! I killed that one.
Yeah.
go. I count that one.
So, if you're going to drive around looking for those fish, you're going to be interacting with the sport boats and the other boats fishing around there. And a good rule of thumb is to keep, at least 100 yards off to the sides or off the bow of sport boats. Never drive across their stern. That's where their chum is going. A lot of times the chum disperses around them, and you can be 200 yards away and there's feeding schools of sandbass that you can target without having a negative interaction with them. And anytime you're in that area, be it Huntington Beach, be it Imperial Beach, be it up north, wherever you are, when you're driving around looking for sandbass, you should keep your boat at less than 3 miles an hour. Because if you go through there on a plane, it's going to chop everything up, everybody's going to get mad at you. Just, be smart about it. And I watched a lot of boats today that were just stopping randomly and drifting, making huge long drifts because it was windy. And you see them catch one, and then they wouldn't catch anything for a while. And, they make another drift. So, if you don't have a trolling motor, I know it's tough to do that, but you're better off than anchoring. And, if you don't want to chase fish around, anchor up and put your chum bucket out, or start a chum line with some anchovies or something like that. Aggregate those fish to the boat. Same thing the sport boats are doing. You can do it on your own boat. So, another guy that did well bass fishing, I heard from Dave Day. He fished earlier this week. He had 25 sandbass up to 7 pounds in a few hours fishing solo. Pretty damn good fishing. And I think he was solo. I don't know. But, yeah, there's also calico bass fighting. I know my friend Rob Cato went out earlier this week. He fished below Newport Harbor with hard baits. Had really good calico bass fishing. Nothing big, but if it's nothing but a swell in his face, must be good fishing. There's also some barracuda on the Horseshoe. My friend Marcus went out on I think it was the Enterprise earlier this week, and they got some barracuda after they caught their limits of sandbass. So, get out there and throw the iron. It's a lot of fun. I forgot to mention that Catalina, I apologize for this. I'm going to back up here for a second. My friend Danny Erickson and Todd Matsuda and Danny's family had chartered the Betty G out of Brea Del Rey, and they went to Catalina, and they had good fishing for calico bass. They had yellowtail on the service iron. Just really fun summertime fishing. And if you're going to go on a sport boat to Catalina or anywhere else, and you get an opportunity to go on a smaller boat like Betty G, or there's a few different ones, they'll take up like 12 people. You're going to have a much better experience than you are on a regular sport boat with 35 or 40 of your closest friends. It may cost you a few more dollars, but definitely worth the investment. And so if you're a guy who likes sport boat fishing, but you're not at the point where you want to charter a guide on a center console, might be out of your price range, or you might be nervous about how that's going to go, I would suggest chartering one of those smaller sport boats. Sometimes they have open party trips, other times you have to charter them. But getting back to the coast, those sandbass are biting just as well down in San Diego. They're having excellent fishing along the coast there. I went down, I was on Let's Talk Hookup Saturday of last week. If you want to watch it, you go to the Let's Talk Hookup website. It's in their archive. They have it on YouTube. I was on there, whatever last Saturday was. And fun show. It's a lot of good information on that show. If you're home on the weekend, definitely worth checking out. But I was talking to Rick Baxa, and he was saying that the sandbass fishing along the beach down there is the best they've seen in over a decade, maybe a couple decades. So, good opportunity. Still not much happening at the Coronados. The good news is that there are fish in range of the full day boats now. They're catching smaller bluefin. They're also having good kelp patty yellowtail fishing. And it's not those little tiny yellows. They're actually a good grade. And the first Dorado of the year was caught in that zone as well this week. So, the bigger bluefin have, it seems, have moved up behind Clemente again. They're off the west end backside of Clemente pretty far. I think it's going to be, winds could definitely be an issue out there this weekend. But just because the fleet's there doesn't mean there aren't fish in other areas. Keep your eyes open whenever you run offshore. I was looking for bluefin on the way to Catalina yesterday. Didn't see any. I saw some false tuna in the dolphin. Got me all excited for a couple minutes. That was about it. Sport boats are still getting at night on the jigs. They're getting some fish during the day on the flying fish. There's popper fish to be caught, foamers, different stuff like that. Good fishing. I think once the weather backs off a little bit again, I might actually take a look offshore out there and see if I can find some. But yeah, a lot of good stuff. I'm keeping it kind of short today because it's 878 degrees in the garage here, and I just got off the water after 2 days here. And I got to tell you, we got buried with spray on the way back. It was, probably blowing 15 plus. Horrible angle, sideways to the wind. If you're a private boater and you don't like wearing foul weather gear all the time, you're going to get wet anyway. And it's too hot to wear foul weather gear. I wear the AFCO sun shirts, the long sleeve sun shirts, and I got soaked on the way out because it was really windy. And within like 15 minutes fishing, I was ready to dry again. So, in addition to give you some sun protection, they'll dry quickly. When I got home, my shorts had already dried and my shirt had already dried, but my underwear were still wet. So yeah, let's talk about Tom and Cash Troop. So I had planned to do a tournament maybe the end of this month. It's gotten pushed back. And instead of doing it in Newport Beach with a weigh-in tournament, we're thinking about doing it in San Diego to allow some of the kayakers and people like that participate and do a measurement tournament. We may or may not need to do that. So basically I talked to Ricky over at Seal Beach Boat Works about how much it was going to cost to get that Mako of that Tom and Cash have now rigged. Transfer the motor from their old boat, get a new binnacle, run new cabling, all that other stuff, install their electronics, install their trolling motor, all the other stuff. And we're probably only looking at about $2,500 to $3,000 total. And while that may sound like a lot, I think that if you guys want to get involved, I'm going to I'm going to build a custom rod with a 2-speed Fathom on it. I'm going to be giving away, Bobby Martinez has agreed to give away a Daiwa rod and reel, and Brian from Stealth Sticks is giving away a rod that I'm going to put a reel on. And I think what we're going to do is, I'm going to do like a Venmo or Zelle type of thing, or even, you can mail a check if you're not inclined. And I think the way it's going to go is that anybody that donates, even if you give $5, you're going to get a raffle ticket to win one of those prizes. I'm actually going to have some more prizes donated as well. But and if you give more than $10, for every $10 you give, you get a raffle ticket. So, as I mentioned before, this was inspired by Garrett Ching giving me that trolling motor, and I want to pass this along. So I know for a lot of guys, donating $50 to a fellow fisherman is not the end of the world, not that big of a deal. I know for some guys it is, and I understand that. I'm not asking you to give, but if I can get 50 of you guys to donate $50 each, we can have these guys fishing again. And I'm going to be giving away a couple grand, $2,500, maybe $3,000 worth of tackle as prizes. So I'll have more information in coming weeks, but I really hope that you guys will be generous and give some money. And the way it's going to work, just I will track every donation that's given, and I'm going to put that in a spreadsheet so everybody's name will be on a spreadsheet with the amount given. I will have the total dollar amount collected. I will post the invoice from Seal Beach Boat Works for the work being done, and not a penny of it is going anywhere except to have that boat fixed. And any additional funds, depending on how it goes, hopefully we have some more money, depending on how much money that is, we can donate to War Heroes on Water, which takes out wounded veterans or something like that. I'm hoping that we can do something as anglers every year to help somebody out and pay it forward and be thankful for what we have. And I get a lot of people asking, hey, what can I do to support your channel? I think supporting this and helping out a stranger would be the way to go. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. And if it works out good, we will continue on every year doing something nice for people. And yeah, if you have somebody that that may be in need of fishing tackle, or something else like that, you know, post a comment, and you know, maybe we can get. I've got tackle here that I'm happy to give the people. I'm sure other people have something they want to share. Let's do something nice for people when we, instead of just watching this video every week. But yeah, that's it. We'll figure it out. But I would really appreciate it if in the comments, if anybody has any ideas, or if anybody is interested in this, just say, hey, you know, this is something I'm interested in, and let's, you know, feel out how it goes, and hopefully we can raise enough money for them to get fishing again, and find the next person to help. So that's about it. I hope you guys watch the weather before you head out, and have a great weekend, and good luck if you fish.